Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our Board of Education meeting scheduled for April 17th. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Edgecombe.
Here.
Franklin. Johnson.
Here.
Morton.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Scott.
So Carla's here.
Okay. Williams. Is Williams on?
No, he.
Okay.
Please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Our mission statement is to educate, empower, and inspire the whole child. President Morton.
So I see we have new faces in the building, so just so you all are aware, our Board of Education meeting, we start with our closed session, and our Board of Education meeting starts at 7:30. So at this time, I make a motion to go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, collective negotiation, bargaining, and board self-evaluation. Motion?
Motion by Mrs. Edgecombe.
Second.
Second by Ms. Phillips. Roll call. Edgecombe.
Yes.
Franklin.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Scott. Yes. And Williams.
are back. We made a motion to come into open session.
We're already in.
Right. So at this time, under our Board of Education report, I'll first turn it over. You ready to speak? To you about the Board Cafe?
Sure.
I'll turn it over to Regina Edgecombe to speak about our Board of Education Cafe.
Good evening, everyone. I am so interested in the Board of Cafe because I want to know what the community, the parents, the staff wants moving forward. I want to talk to you. I want to have a conversation. So we are introducing and launching the Board of Cafe. Anything else, Sue? And it's just a time for us to have a conversation.
Next on the agenda is our schoolyard wrap. When we were in New Orleans, we did meet a company who introduces history and just teaching our kids the different diversity, but they teach it through rap. So Dr. Brunson and I, as well as Mrs. Owens, as well as Jennifer Phillips, sat on a Zoom meeting. We did, and Mrs. Fields was there as well. I'm sorry, Mrs. Fields. So we do want to table that because they did just send over the proposal, and we haven't had a chance as a collective group to discuss the pricing and things like that. And we did want to partner with other school districts and partner with our high school as it relates to their performance and things like that. But the schoolyard wrap is pretty much just an entertainment company that comes out and they teach our kids. They put on a big showcase and they teach our kids history and things like that. And Black history mainly, and their main goal is basically we're more than just 1 month. And that's what they focus on. But we will definitely bring that back up in our next board meeting after we look over the proposals that were sent to us. Next on the agenda, we do have our public relations. As you are aware, we have Mrs. Friday, who's currently our communications director, as well as our grants writer. We did have as a board, we did want to bring in possibly, which we don't know the disconnection, for public relations, just someone that can actually highlight more than what we do as a Board of Education. And in the event that there are things that the board would like to highlight on, whether it's Channel 7, like the new bill to our elementary school and things like that. We just wanted to just outlook at the options of public relations. So we do have Sean Howard here who would like to just bring up what his company does. And he could just come to the mic. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, Superintendent as well, and the entire board, and those of you who are here. My name is Sean Howard, really no stranger to the district, but my background has been public relations for over 30 years, telling my age, but it's been over 30 years. Pretty much I started with Mayor Daley, went to the county board where I was the television spokesman there, as well as the director of communications, and I was the spokesman for all 4 hospitals, including Stroger, Provident, the Cermak Hospital, which was a prison hospital, and Oak Forest, and all 28 ambulatory clinics. Since then, I was promoted downtown to television spokesman for the county board president and all the commissioners, and my job was to push communications. So this has been my life and my story and my passion, and even my testimony. So with that, around 2010, I decided to open up my own firm. And for the last 14 years, we've been very successful. I have a staff of 6 people, 3 of them who are freelance reporters that write for 4 other newspapers. So in a cheating kind of way, I'm able to write the press releases, the media advisories, and have the staff go do their other jobs by making sure they're reported in newspapers. My tenure here was brief. I was brought in under some form of crisis management with the Chicago Tribune kind of hounding us for what we know now was no real reason at all. But I was able to talk to that particular reporter, and from the time that I was there, I worked with Sheila Friday, and together, collectively, we were able to hash out that attempts to put bad press on the district at that time, and no other articles have been written since. It took a lot of going out to Starbucks with them, but we were able to accomplish that. Also, while I was here, those few months I was here, I was able to generate a lot of television press for the district. Even this very location that we sit in, when the groundbreaking, and some of you were in the press conference, so We were able to do that here. We was also able, there was an 8-year-old student that I highlighted here who saved her mother's life by dialing 911, and I had the media here, about 3 television stations, and we kind of described how the young lady articulated herself on the phone line with the 911 dispatcher. There was the Amazon press conference, to which I kind of merged 227 and 159 all in the same press release to generate press for both, and there was a few other opportunities. Pretty much with school districts, and I'm kind of biased toward it because I get tired of watching television and something happens in Naperville or Winnetka in a grade school. Good accomplishments by the students, but we don't see that south of Madison Street. And it really transcends gender, race, and everything else, but I don't think there's a strong enough push from the grade school and high school level schools in our communities downtown to those newsrooms. Every morning at 8:30, I'm part of only 10 publicists in Cook County where I perform a conference call with all assignment editors. And those stories that get viewed, that's one thing. But there are smaller stories that depend on me and 9 other publicists, and I've been doing that for 17 years, even my tenure at the county. I was on those conference calls, and now I have my own company. They allowed me to stay on there. And all I do, I'm biased. I push my clients. And so in representing 227 over the last 14 months, I've had them on 13 different opportunities on television for positive press, 11 times over those 13 months. I came in there under crisis manager. You all know too well about the security issues that happened. Ted Slowick of the Southtown was dead on him all the time. First thing I did, I took the superintendent, the president of the school board, sat down with the writer, and we had a fact-finding meeting. And we were able to bring out the real issues that really were positive about the district. Not one negative article has been written over the last year, except for the graduation, high school graduation last year. That was just a mistake of a staffer. It got blown out. But the security issues were handled internally, and we smashed that down with positive press. We did a update on one of our staff members, because I believe in highlighting staff and faculty. She was retiring. She ran the food pantry over there. We got the press out to cover that, as well as the culinary arts. It's been featured on ABC 7 and CBS 2, as well as other parts of the district. We've done pretty well at 227. No negative articles have come out during my time there, except for the high school graduation fiasco. But I'm very passionate about this again, and once again, whether it was the relationship that this district has with Taylor Media, to where Sheila Friday now has a wonderful relationship with Mike Taylor. I just got off the phone with him. I remember merging that relationship together to ensure that the district could get covered, and you are prominently covered in that newspaper quite often, and I'm proud of that. But I think there are other newspapers that we have to target as well. I think the television station and radio stations need to be aware of our student and district accomplishments. And this is being performed, and look, I work with all the local, in terms of the 2 districts that I represent, 227 and 152 and a half in Hazel Crest. I work, as I did with Sheila here, I work with the in-house public relations director. My job is external, to keep things flowing, because I know Sheila's plate is full here in the district every day, because she does more than just promote. She has other responsibilities under the umbrella of public relations. My job is to keep the flow from newspapers, radio, and television flowing as it relates to student accomplishments. And we do here have an extraordinary amount of students that are doing positive things. The cable station here, I'm not responsible for that, but from my inception here, I tried to work to ensure that, whether it was writing a script or directing, producing, we had 1 or 2 bouts with that. And that communications team that you have here is phenomenal, because they've really taken off. And it's a wonderful facility as well. At 227, and even here at the Village of Matheson, you had the Ion 227, the Ion Matheson cable show. I wrote, direct, produced that. I trained the moderator, the former director of marketing in Matheson, Laverne Murphy, how to properly conduct a television show. All those things are necessary. I've done it at every level of government, and I'm just excited about the opportunity just to stand before you to just talk about just a few of those things. Whether it be, I've gotten Evelyn Holmes just last month from ABC 7. There's a communication division at 227, as there is one here at 159. Your communications television room there, and the students that are really interested had Evelyn Holmes come out and just talk to the students about a career in communications and guiding them in that path. And now we have Cheryl Burton coming out next month prior to the end of the school year. So I'm really excited about what our kids are doing, not only here but in other school districts. But, you know, it's okay. We're in a new form of marketing now. It's just not your newsletters going home in a report card, and it's not just other local newspapers. You know, the other school systems now, they're taking advantage of television, radio, print, and what have you. Once again, if you saw the television news 2 days ago, the kid that got ran over at Finger High School, that was me. I coordinate that whole press conference on behalf of the Chicago Public School System. So I'm duly qualified to do the job, and I'm not here because I need to be. I'm here because when I was here, I enjoyed being here, and I enjoyed working with all the other schools that I work with as well. I got a lot of clients, but just 2 school districts for now. Got park districts. I represent this town, Matheson, Calumet City, Linwood, Robbins, State Representative Debbie Myers-Martin, Rich Township, Calumet Township, got 3 other state reps. So our office is busy. We got a lot of other clients too, which is reflected. And but when it comes to school, I have a heart for that. When it comes to children's accomplishments, got a heart for that. I have grandchildren that are grade school age as well, and I'm just excited about what they're doing. And, you know, I do a lot of pro bono work for their schools because I'm taking my grandkids to school every morning. So I do a lot of work there. So to that end, Superintendent Bronson, President Morton, I thank you for this opportunity and whatever follow-ups. Is there any questions for me before
I have a question. So there's a monthly fee. Is there an average monthly service? And what does that look like?
in terms of hours input?
Or in terms of what you are, how
Oh,
you're
it's just a
promoting
flat
us?
fee. It's just a
No,
flat
no, no,
fee.
what I'm saying is, it's a flat fee, I
Mhm.
understand that. So what can we expect
Oh, okay. Good-
monthly?
Good question. Constant press releases going out, seeking out through Ms. Friday those student accomplishments, those staff and faculty accomplishments, always ensuring that the president, whether it be the president, superintendent, or any other board member, is on those necessary talk radio programs. What I do in other districts that I'm doing currently right now, and they've already started running, I take a school board member and highlight every week, whether it be the president on down to the board secretary and to the superintendent, so people can know who sits on the boards and their backgrounds and what qualifies them to perform these particular functions. When the media calls, that normally channels through me because I have the relationships in every newsroom. I know all the beat reporters out here. And so when we get those inquiries, that's something that Ms. Friday could channel through me. We work together along with the superintendent to find the best solution on how we respond appropriately to the media, because we just can't, say the first thing that comes to mind. We really need to dissect that. And I normally get buy-in time with the reporter if he has a deadline on tomorrow. I'm sorry.
We're just getting our other board member.
Okay. Sorry. If most reporters will tell you, well, my deadline is at 11 o'clock. I call the editor. You call me at 4 o'clock and you want a response by 11 o'clock, or you call me in the morning, you want a response by 11, I get the editor to give me an extra day. That gives, if necessary, the attorney, the public relations director, and the superintendent for us to caucus and come up with the necessary solutions. If need be, whatever, I think the cable studio here is running well, I've been told. And, that's something that we can always give assistance with. If you need assistance, once again, bringing personalities come in. I represent a lot of entertainers, and the appropriate ones that we can put in front of the students as well. So I think in terms of the expanded curriculum, trying to navigate through that, I think we play an important role in that as well. And so full-scale public relations, that's what we do, and we work hard at it every day. And there are certain sensitive areas, as Sheila knows, that, we can't discuss publicly as you do in your executive sessions. There's a need for us to go in there and talk about a sensitive matter that could lurk out. And I think it's best to get in front of a train and get behind it.
And so when you're doing your printed highlights, where is that visible?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
When you're doing your printed highlights, let's say you want to highlight Dr. Bronson, where could one go to read the information that you're putting out? Where is it visible?
Every newspaper, with all the community newspapers, that's where our best relationships are. When people in the supermarket, they see the Citizen, they see the South Suburban News, they may run into the Crusader, you can get the Defender online. Those are some of the aspects, but we do deal with the Southtown a lot, and for a positive reason. Mike Nolan wrote an excellent piece for us on Rich Township about a month ago. We had him come out. You know, the Southtown, they've cut a lot of staffing, so you got to have great relationships to get them to come out and do things. And I've been blessed to have been working with them as far back as 1999. And Mike Nolan's been there forever. He's the senior writer. The writer that was there previous when I came to this district to deal with some crisis management, he's now gone. He left maybe 6 months after I started working here. And I still talk to him. So you'd be amazed, and I'm not getting political, but you'd be amazed the amount of phone calls that goes to these reporters, and people make up stuff about your district, they make up stuff about your town, they make up stuff about individuals that sit on the board, elected officials, and lots of times, even with 227, I spend more time on the phone putting out fires, keeping them from becoming stories, as opposed to responding and reacting on the aftermath. I think when you hear the rumor, you got to deal with it. And a lot of stories don't get told when you have the proper people in place to flush them out, who has, one, the relationships, two, the tone and temperament in order to how to handle that. Media is a very tricky thing. You could be up on the mountain one week and in one mistake and they drag you down, but you got to have somebody to navigate through that. And I think that's what we've been successful, me personally, but now my team, we've been very successful. Any other questions? Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate you for having me.
So that will conclude the Board of Education report for this evening. At this time, I'll turn it over to our superintendent for a superintendent's report.
Greetings, everyone. I'm going to go through the agenda. I have a few things for the informational items and announcements. So on April 25th, we have our spring band concert at CP. MS at 6:30. Please come out and support our young musicians. On April 26th, we are celebrating Arbor Day and will be planting trees all day on the 26th. May 2nd is our State of the District address right here in our boardroom at 6 p.m. So please come out and support the next three big events that we're going to have. I'll start next with attendance. So the student attendance for the month of March for Colin Powell is 91%, Maria Yates 90%, Neil Armstrong is 94%, Seton Prairie 88%, Woodgate Elementary 88%, and Woodgate Pre-K is 87%. Parents and families, it's really important that our young scholars come to school every single day. Now I'll move on to our district total number of students that we have. For Colin Powell, we have 563, Neil Armstrong 282, Woodgate 327, Maria Yates 249, and Seton Prairie we have 222 for a total of 1643. For the month of March, our disciplinary summaries are as follows. For Colin Powell, we had 13 in-school suspensions and 10 out-of-school suspensions. For violence without physical injury, defiance and subordination, 3 in school, 2 out of school. Inappropriate language and profanity, 2 in school, 1 out of school, and 1 drug offense. Maria Yates, no in-school or out-of-school incidents. Neil Armstrong, no incidents in school or out of school. Seton Prairie, no in school or out of school. Woodgate, no in school or out of school incidents. There are a few things that the board will be voting on this evening, and the next one is our district office agreement. The next, we will be revising our Board of Education 2024-2025 school calendar. They will not vote on that tonight because we have to revise the draft, and we had a good discussion on that today. So we will be tabling that, and I will be creating the new calendar for the board to approve. Next, we will have our teacher learning and accountability team. Before they come up, does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. Teacher learning and accountability, led by Mrs. Fields. We have Ms. Edema and Mrs. V.
Good evening, everyone. Before my team gets up and presents, I wanted to give you a little bit of information about what they're going to tell you about. So ESD developed a comprehensive literacy plan, and it provides districts with a framework for providing high-quality, effective literacy programs throughout your district. The programs they're going to discuss for renewal and extension are HMH, which is our reading program for K through 8, and Hegarty, which is for primary. They're going to talk to you about this, but I wanted to let you know that both programs are in alignment with highly effective programs. And here's my team.
Yes, I could use a clicker.
Ms. Friday has it.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight?
Good evening.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having us. I'm here to talk to you about the Hegarty program. Hegarty is an overarching program that the teachers can use to teach phonological awareness and especially phonemic awareness. It's one of the foundational skills that is essential for learning to read. We brought in the video series for Hegarty so that the teachers can all watch the videos with the students. So there's two teachers, Mrs. Van Hecken and Mrs. Botari. Every day the students see them. They last for about 10 to 12 minutes. The teachers can stop and start the videos. There are hand motions that go with the learning as well. The students are really starting to catch on and love it. So we brought in the video series to allow for instruction to be equitable and consistent across the district so that all of the students at every school in every grade level are learning the same thing in the same way. Phonemic awareness, the easiest way to think about it, it's a skill. If you think about the stairs that your students need to climb in order to learn how to read, it is one of the most foundational skills that is essential to learning to read. If the stairs are not in place, children will not have, they will have a much harder time climbing the staircase and a much more difficult time learning to read. Couple of pieces of data on the left. 75% of students who do not read proficiently by 3rd grade never reach proficiency in future grades. And kindergarten through 2nd grade are the building block of learning to read so that you can read to learn in 3rd grade and up. 95% of elementary students are capable of learning to read when they receive sufficient instruction on foundational reading skills. Phonemic awareness is one of the most essential foundational skills. I did a survey of our K-2 teachers. I had 100% of them respond, and 100% of them feel that the Hegarty program is beneficial now and moving forward for our students. They've seen great gains. In being in the classrooms and talking to the teachers are seeing the skills that they're learning in Hegarty. The students are starting to put them into their reading. So for example, if you're learning to sound out the word cat, in the Hegarty program, you learn at. When the students are in their small groups or even on their own, practicing their reading, the teachers are seeing them using those same skills. When you use motions as well as your language, the connections are solidified in your brain and the kids are learning those skills. So it's really showing up in the classroom. The renewal, the cost is here for you to see. It is a 2-year renewal. The program is very financially cheap. If you think about how essential this skill is for our students and them learning how to read and how beneficial it is to the students, this is really something that's very cost effective. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr.
Brunson, board members, and community members. I'm Mrs. V. I'm here to talk to you about our HMH renewal. So, when you first adopted HMH, it was a 4-year adoption, this being the closing of our 4th year. So, we began the renewal process. So, I sent out a survey to the teachers. The teachers had about a month with several different ways that they were invited to take the survey. And there is our first graph of the teachers that responded. Here is one of the main questions on the survey. For the 2024-25 academic year, I would like to continue with HMH, discontinue, undecided, I don't have a preference. Based on those teachers that responded to the survey, that is the result of those questions. So little bit more than half were really more in tune to the HMH program. So here are some additional comments they said. I won't read them to you. And here you have 3 proposals in front of you. The first proposal is for our K through 5 buildings, and that proposal includes for 2 years the internet licenses, all of their Know It, Show It, and their My Books. And your second proposal is your 6 through 8. That also includes all of their internet licenses and any tangible, consumable objects needed. And then the last proposal you'll see is all of our Into Reading and Into Literature professional development quote. This is, so 4 years ago when we adopted the program, obviously there's been improvements and new research to literacy, and HMH has been building that into their program. So during our renewal process with our consultant, there are different pieces to the program that in our 4-year locked-in adoption was not included. So now with a renewal, we are getting everything that they researched and they added to the program. So with that comes professional development needed. One of those high needs that in your first 4-year adoption of HMH, there was no writing series. And in that time, they've just built the writing series into the new program. So that's where the professional development will come from. The teachers will have to have some professional development to understand the writing component of it, as well as in the survey, they did reach out and say most of their comments were looking for writing, looking for grammar components. So not only is this building on the program they've had, but it's building into what they're asking for. Any questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Of those who did not want this curriculum, we only have maybe one example. What was the overall consensus for not wanting it?
What do you mean not wanting it?
When you did your survey,
Yes. Oh, it's,
you had
So-
19.4% that wanted to discontinue.
yes.
What was the overall reason?
They just wanted I could pull up I believe I shared the survey with you, but in their additional comments, they felt that they didn't have enough training with HMH, they didn't have enough professional development, and they didn't feel they had everything that the program offered.
So does that company come out and?
That's what the
So
third,
why did-
that's
why
what the
didn't they
third
do that
proposal
previously,
is.
what I'm saying.
I can't speak to what the 4-year adoption was. That was before my time. But with this renewal I worked with our consultant, I did build in all of that professional development. So in the third one, there's 2 people will be coming out, one specifically for the junior high building, and then we have coachables. There's a whole bunch of different options.
So my question was, what other resource companies did you all look into besides HMH? Was there other options?
We did not go into any other options because ISB was in its initial stages of rolling out its literacy plan, and before they finalized everything, it was our understanding to not go to an adoption because in the time past, when when literacy programs are adopted by states, they usually then do the following year, they vet all of these reading programs and reading series. So we didn't want to do an adoption and then get locked into a company or a program rather, and then ISB come out and say, that's not a vetted program.
So how many vetted programs do they currently have? Because if this is not the only option, so that we won't vote on one, because you guys didn't have a chance to vote, to vet anything else, how many others are there that you all can probably look into, so we'll make sure we're making?
Well, you have your big three. You have like McGraw-Hill, you have HMH, you have Princeton Hall. We could go through all of them, but I didn't do that based on the survey being open for a month and a half and majority wanting to stay with HMH.
'Cause
And
36
right?
is not a lot.
I know.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
not a
it's not,
majority.
there's not many, and this goes from, I was reaching out to teachers, I was stopping in buildings, please take this survey. I was reaching out to admin to say, hey, this survey is open, and it was just,
Right, so,
yeah.
how is 100%, and the other one is 36? Because the only reason why I just want to make sure, because for one, 241,000 is a lot of money, and if we didn't even look at any other companies and what they offer, we really have nothing to look at, because not all of the teachers even did the survey.
One of the things that we talked with a lot of the teachers about was the fact that they've had so many new things the last few years, and every time you get something new, it's like starting all over again. So in order to give them some time to kind of, let's get used to this, let's look at the new pieces of the foundational skills for the K-2 that is coming through, the writing and the grammar that's being added for the 3rd through 8th grade. Those are things that the majority of the teachers were looking for, and to not have it be a completely new program and for them to just be exhausted in how many new things they've been being introduced to over the years. What we've been hearing from the teachers is we'd just like some time to work with what we have and not have to learn something new again. The data is showing that things are working.
The data here is showing that it's working? You're saying here it's showing that it's working?
Yes.
What is the data showing nationwide? Like for this particular curriculum, for those school districts that have adopted it, what kind of feedback, reviews, data, performance? Is there any feedback as to how this has worked compared to the other two,
I personally
three
do
big
not
ones?
know, but I'm sure that's something we can ask our consultant to get that information.
Thank you. And then,
Yeah, they're trying to sell it. Yeah.
and while you're asking, can you ask why is it costing $22,000 to ship it? The shipping cost is $22,000.
Okay. I think, if I'm not mistaken, as a board, we just would kind of want other options given and additional information on the program before we just approve only one being researched.
That's fine. I can totally go back to the drawing board and get into other programs. Be warned, with doing that and going to possibly doing whole adoption, we do run the risk of teachers not having what they need in front of them for the start of the school of 2024, 2025 school year.
Right, but just because we don't
And would
adopt
you
it-
like the teachers to have an opportunity to teach from the different programs? Because then that would put us back a little bit more.
No, it's just more so, well, having kids in the district, I've seen books that we've had for several years, so it's not like that they can't continue with these books, because the only thing they're doing is pretty much adding on to our existence, basically, from what you said, right?
Well, the consumables. So
Right.
once they're used, they're used. So the books that like the hardcover reading books, right? Those don't go anywhere.
Right.
But the teachers that are directly teaching from, those books wouldn't be ready for day one.
Yeah, I think we still just need a little more information, and just to see what other companies, our state vetted, just to kind of have an idea, before we
Okay.
just set in stone on just one. Say no.
For a different adoption, but when we're looking at results of 36 respondents and half of that said they wanted to keep it, that's not allowed.
So would you like this information directly to the board? Would you like me to bring to the teachers
I mean,
and
you-
have the teachers look at these different programs? Like, would you like me to have a consultant come and start committees for K through 2, 3, 5, and 6, 8 to have different?
And those decisions actually would be the TLA department and the superintendent. What we are saying is, just that initial, we're not saying go through all that process, but just, hey, looking at McGraw-Hill, looking at, some of the others, these are some of the things that it would cost, and laying out what it would mean if we did preview, before adoption, things like that. So just laying that part out, but I just think that, and if I'm not mistaken, in terms of approving something for 241,000, and yet we only have 17, 18 teachers that said, yeah, I want to do it again, that, honestly, if we had better numbers, say,
Yeah.
if we had better numbers,
Yeah.
say yes, but to say that, oh, the teachers want this and they don't want anything different, the numbers you're showing us
Doesn't add
tell
up,
us that.
right?
So it's right, that doesn't, that doesn't tell us that. So if we have that saying, yes, this is what we want to do and support, we're all for it, and I think we're in agreement that we would approve it. But like I said, the data that was presented to us is not showing that the staff wants us to spend 241,000 to continue this. So we would just like more to support and then just some information about the others.
Right.
Sure.
Thank you. How many teachers do we have?
All right, thank you very much. We will get that information to you. And teachers, if you're at home and you're watching this, please take the survey. We appreciate your feedback. All right. So we're going to move on to the Colin Powell updates. All right, come on down, Eagles.
I'd like to say good evening to the board and everyone present. Dean Brown and I are speaking on behalf of Colin Powell this evening. Brown and Brown. Yes, indeed.
Sound like a restaurant.
So at this time, we want to provide updates in regards to climate and culture for Colin Powell. And what our emphasis has been over this last month is really bringing everyone up to speed and knowledgeable in regards to Senate Bill 100, which dictates and governs how we move with discipline and infractions. Really, we've had an opportunity over the last month or last couple of weeks. We've actually had an opportunity to go to each grade level team meeting, including the Explorer team, and go over the key elements of Illinois Senate Bill 100, the 10 key points. And at this time, Dean Brown.
Good evening. I'm the new Brown to this organization. Just kind of going through some of the key points real quick for you. For Senate Bill 100, some of the top three that we wanted to just review are that it eliminates zero tolerance policies. It puts tighter restrictions on the use of harsh disciplinary consequences and ensures out-of-school suspensions, expulsions, and disciplinary referrals to alternative settings for legitimate purposes, right? And so in that case, with all of these options, the focus being on students that pose a major harm to themselves or others in thinking about these types of consequences.
So as we continue, we see that we have the other points of emphasis dealing with Senate Bill 100. And what we want to really focus on in this, it says prohibits school push out. And what we really drove home was that term of push out when we were coming up or younger, based on your age. Some people would insinuate that students didn't necessarily, based on their academic or behavioral performance, didn't necessarily quite fit in this arena. When we're talking about push out, Senate Bill 100 eliminates that conversation and makes everyone cognizant of their language and their conversations when it comes to academic or behavioral performance of their students, so that they can't, subliminally lead to this, your child or this student does not fit in this particular era.
The whole premise is to interrupt the school to prison pipeline, where a lot of black and brown students have been misinterpreted or given unfair consequences to our counterparts of different ethnicities. We want to give some updates on where we are with our discipline over the last few months at this point, starting with December and January. Before break, we ended up the month with 9 in-school suspensions and 9 out-of-school suspensions. Coming back from winter break, we were at 5 in school and 1 out of school. Since then, we've had an increase in our major incidences. And the color coding indicates the grade levels for these major infractions. In February, our in-school suspensions were 13 and out-of-school suspensions were 15. And then moving into March, 24 in-school suspensions and 13 out-of-school suspensions.
Now, with that data, we do understand that and recognize that there was a spike, but we want to ensure you that we have measures in place that have been in place that we use to handle discipline and different structures that we have set in place at Colin Powell. And with this, we recognize also the component to the spike was that we had leadership on leave. So we do want to acknowledge that we had to make some necessary adjustments in regards to the structures we had in place to address certain issues or disciplinary measures. Now, this is how Colin Powell responds to the discipline data. Right now, we've been using resources for more support. And when we say resources, we're talking about our counselor, Ms. Williams, and our social worker, Ms. Nolan, who've done an excellent job in working with us to address student concerns. Also, we've talked about culture and climate meetings, as we said earlier, with all grade levels, including our Explorer team, to ensure that everyone is saying the same page across the building, speaking the same language. We conducted a school-wide transportation town hall meeting on multiple occasions, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and most recently within the last month and a half to address some concerns of discipline and support in regards to how students get back and forth to Colin Powell in a safe and secure fashion. We conducted an end-of-year 8th grade town hall meeting at last week in regards to end-of-year expectations, emphasizing that we would love for them to close out this school year with a reduction in infractions so that we can finish out on a good note.
And just to come back to the culture and climate grade level meetings that we've held with our teams, we are not happy with the increase in our infractions. And so we've started a plan of action of connecting with the staff members to first, let's discuss what is working or what's been working that maybe we're not doing at this point to kind of gather that data. And then what do you as staff members, because there's only a few of us on the leadership team, there are a lot more eyes in the rest of the staff. So we're asking them to tell us, what do you see that is not working, that we need to improve on? So that's been a part of our conversation. Our next piece moving forward, and it's connected to what we're also trying to do for next year, is to hear more of a voice from the students, for them to tell us what's going on. Like, why do you think this is increasing? So we can have a more comprehensive type of approach to making some change and shifting the numbers that we're having.
Additionally, we want to continue and continue to support our positive behavior committee with our Flaming Hot Fridays, the bingo board, and other student-centered incentives, because again, a collective effort has been brought about with Colin Powell, everyone being on the same accord and incentivizing our students so that these infractions and discipline measures can decrease. Also, we've had an opportunity within the last week to meet with Ms. Owens to have a pre-budget meeting so we can identify areas where money can be spent or used for staff development, professional development in regards to restorative practices and other classroom management measures so that we can provide support not only for the staff but also for our students as well.
Yeah, and we're committed to finishing out this school year as strong as we possibly can, as well as developing the type of culture and climate that we can also build upon next year for 24-25, and where our focuses are going to be specifically the main focus and major that's underlined here is around creating and implementing restorative practices to address student behaviors that we think will be helpful. The piece we talked earlier about from Catalyze of hearing the student voice, improving student relationships. We believe that's going to be a huge piece if we learn a little bit more with professional development on how to build strategies and how to build stronger relationships. That's going to improve our culture, that's going to ultimately improve the climate, that's going to ultimately improve the academic portion. And then not forgetting about our social emotional learning, where we continue to connect with our counselors and social workers.
That concludes. Are there any questions?
Do you find that you have repeat students for in-school and out-of-school suspension? And if you find that you're seeing some of the same names, what do we do?
Well, based on the mandate with Senate Bill 100, when we see repeat offenders or start to see names coming up often, we have to treat that as a case-by-case situation. We can't treat every scenario exactly the same, even though it's the same student, and then we address accordingly, meaning that we'll go back and see what measures have been in place, what type of interventions have been provided for this particular student based on the issue that was brought to us.
In addition to that, moving through a progressive discipline, and starting with pieces that might be smaller in terms of lunch detention or after-school detention or conversation or conference that may lead to then more severe consequences.
Okay, Mr. Brown, this is Mr. Brown. I visited Colin Powell earlier part of this year, me and Mrs. Morton, and what I saw from you is boots on the ground. I saw the respect from the children, and I also saw the decrease that, as far as discipline that was going on. I don't know what type of mentorship program that you brought to that wing that you were managing, but what I saw was the kids respected you. So I don't know if we need to put it on the all wings or what you do with building that relationship, but a mentorship program, or whether or not bringing the fathers into the building, whether or not rallying up your military veterans. I'm a wife of a veteran, but we need to do something where these young men, our young black babies, men and women, be able to bring that respect level back into the school. So it's more so of a shout out to you in what I saw, to continue that.
Thank you so much.
But also, work with your colleagues, because you're doing something right on your wing of that building.
But I want to be honest, it's a collective effort. So just because you see me, it's not all me. I appreciate the acknowledgement, but our team collectively comes together because as we go about, you may see one of us in one capacity over this way. I mean, it's a constant support system. What I would like to do, and just kind of go back to the community, and I do have a mentoring program. It was from my former school. It's called Gucci Crew, Gentlemen Using Citizenship and Culture Intelligently, and that was just it was a pseudo fraternity type thing, but it branched out into those young people are now juniors and seniors in college, just graduating, and it was a big component of, like what you spoke of, us surrounding our young people and showing them what they can have with the right kind of support, but also with the right drive internally.
I think it would be phenomenal if we had some opportunities to bring in some more people, human capital, that could be helpful in managing and delivering some of the same type of messages throughout the building, because it's a large building with a lot of students. It's a lot of moving parts, and so that would be really helpful.
But I was going to touch base on, like, with these kids, especially if they repeat it, are we seeking any mental health specialists for them? Are we allowing their parents to come into the building to actually kind of watch our atmosphere so that the parents themselves can kind of speak to their children? Sometimes a little more parent engagement can help with the students, because, or are the parents, you know, often told a lot of times what their child is doing, so that they have to come in and sit and observe? Because sometimes, you know, with the kids going through a lot, they may need mentally, outside of our 2 counselors, and 2 is a lot compared to how many kids are in the building. Do we need extra resources in that building? Is my question, because then we would need to add more.
I would say yes. And with Counselor Williams and Ms. Nolan in there, they've done a tremendous job of those students that we see that may have a social-emotional breakdown or some concern. They've done a good job of scheduling those students and meeting with them. Now, in regards to parents coming in, it has been a question asked, and we direct the parents to make sure they speak with the district office personnel, make sure they're fingerprinted, and then we'll come back and run that due Dr. Streeter, the building principal, to see if that's okay. So that is something that we can continue to bring back to Dr. Streeter and work on. So when these situations, or we have students that we recognize that may have other concerns that we can't visibly see, or a little deeper than what we see, then we can have a little more parent engagement in that regards.
To piggyback off of what Mrs. Morton was saying, when I went to the conference last week, I kind of looked for resources for that. And so my question as I was doing that is, we have traumatized employees who are sometimes trying to teach traumatized children, and I really don't know that we have enough resources when it comes down to psychology, caseworkers. Do we have enough where if a student is going through something, we can really find out what's going on? When a student is acting out, it's not all the time just them acting out. We need to get to the root of the problem. And my question in this district is, do we have enough employees on staff to deal with those situations? We're finding out they're dealing with loss of parents, they're dealing with brothers and sisters who have been murdered, sometimes in front of them. They're dealing with some real heavy stuff. And if we're not meeting that need, Senate Bill 100 doesn't work for that. It's not going to work for that. And that's why some of those names keep coming up. So what are we doing to get to the root of it? Have we considered peer mediators too? Because sometimes they respect their own, telling them, we don't like you doing this in our building. We can't learn. You're disrupting our class. You don't have a right to put your hands on somebody. If they get peer mediators, will they hear better? I'm going to hand you this information. There is some companies out there that will actually, I was going to give just a character too, that will actually, yes, please. They will actually have their staff come in. If we can't find people to hire, they will send people to us to do the same thing, and we pay a fee for it. So I'm just wanting us to get to the root of the matter for our hurting kids.
You said a whole lot that's really valuable and really true. And to answer your question, we need more. We need more, because our kids, some people just don't know what they're going through. And in terms of multi-tiered academia, right, we need that for social, emotional, and behavior as well, so that we've got some students in Tier 1, some students in Tier 2, some students in Tier 3. But also my students in Tier 3, I got categories of students who need different types of supports, and we need the professionals to be able to work with those students in those different categories.
Just to kind of piggyback on that, also, not just the student support, what we've also identified staff and parental support as well, because these students that we're speaking about, when we get to the crux of the matter, it's other issues outlying that they bring to the table that we're seeing, or we're having to address, or just kind of be deal with. And when we get to the end root of it, and when we talk to them, and we do have an opportunity to speak with parents, we find out, as everyone stated, there's other things. That's not the child themselves wanting to come and act out or not do their work. There's other areas or other concerns that that student has that's keeping them from being successful or being the best that they can be. Thank you. All right, any further questions? Thank you for your time.
Good job.
All right, thank you, Colin Powell. So they mentioned meeting with myself and Mrs. Owens. We've been meeting with each building, all the leaders, to talk about their unique needs that they have for their building. And we're building out budgets so that they can bring in the resources that they need, because Neil Armstrong's needs may be different than Woodgate's, than CPMS. So they mentioned that, and that's actually what we're working on. So thanks for the resource, because we are looking for resources right now, but we're building the budget based on the needs that they have, so that we can make sure that we have the resources, the financial resources, to be able to bring in the actual resources that we need. Yep. You're welcome. I was remiss in the other thing that our Board of Ed will be, they will be approving tonight, are the maintenance mechanics. So the next will be Mrs. Friday, communication, social media updates. Thank you.
I'm Clemson. Board of Education, Dr. Bronson, everyone that is here tonight, and those that are looking us at the meeting. I'm going to share some things about our social media efforts so far this school year, and I'm really dropping stuff. Okay, cool, thank you. Okay, so we entitled this Telling Our Story Through Social Media. Obviously, our goal is to tell our story. We feel that no one can tell our story like us. If we don't tell it, it's going to be told, and it may not be the story one told. So this year, we really focused on social media. So our social media efforts are aligned to strategic plan, goal number 2, to establish ongoing and transparent communication with all stakeholders. Our objectives were, as you see here, to utilize social media to showcase our school district, our scholars, and our staff, and to provide up-to-date, accurate information on the district's website. Our strategies are to post on our social media platforms constantly, making sure that our messages are clear, communicate our strengths and our accomplishments. And this year, we have a communication committee that has been very effective. And so the committee is made of Ms. Jones, Ms. Mitchell, Ms. Gilman, Dr. Bronson, and myself, and Eddie Short. And we normally meet on a monthly basis to talk about our communication efforts. We also want to analyze our social media efforts on a monthly basis. So here are our social media platforms. First thing you see would be Facebook. That is our busiest, by far, platform. If you compare where we were And we're looking at this quarterly. So if you compare where we were from October through December versus January through March, we reached 12,991 more people. We had 1,441 more post engagements. That means they either commented, liked, or shared. We had 59 new likes, which is an increase of 27, and more, and 57 new followers, which is an increase of 14. With social media, and specifically Facebook, they love the videos. They love anything with the kids. They love when we highlight our staff. And you'll see later, we did highlight our staff during the month of February and March. Secondly, we have the Thriving 159 news updates. As I said, the last time that we presented, that is a SMORE newsletter that goes out normally twice a month, goes to the parents, people throughout the community, and our staff. During the month of January through March, our readership or our impressions increased by 1,479. We had 28,275 impressions. That newsletter was seen 20,456 times, 7 times, which is an increase of 933. We had 427 post engagements, and it was viewed through direct mail. That's like when you all get the emails. It was viewed through direct mail 8,186 times. So we're really pleased with our efforts and the return on our investments. Now we're going to look at X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. There's always room for growth, understanding this is the very first year that we implemented these 3 platforms. So for X, the data was not collected until November. We had merely 74 tweets. But from January through March, we had 3,310 impressions and 158 engagements. With Instagram, we're still growing with Instagram, but we reached 665 accounts, which is an increase, a big increase, of 486. We have 80 followers, which is an increase. We had 229 post engagements, which is an increase of 215, and 671 impressions. Now, this is a stickler for some people, but I'm working with Marcellus Butler with LinkedIn. One of the things, and Mr. Williams mentioned LinkedIn last time we presented, and we talked about HR and the communications department working together. And so what we did do is purchase Buffer, because Buffer will allow us to post on one social media platform, and it'll go to all of the platforms. So now we've completed the training, and now we're going to be using that platform, and we just added LinkedIn. So the numbers are low, but we know that's an area of improvement. We need to work at that. We only had 24 page views, 14 unique users, 12 followers, and 8 new followers. Again, we already know that's the area we need to work at. So when I say areas we need to work at, you guys know, basically, I'm a department of one. But I do have Ms. Mitchell that helps me out quite a bit. But then there's Ms. Jones, and a lot of the things we do are collaborative. So Ms. Jones, Ms. Mitchell, and myself, we started meeting on a weekly basis to decide how can we work together for the betterment of the school district. How can we build the capacity of the communication department, as well as support Ms. Jones in her efforts. So the things that you're going to see on the next few slides are collaborations between the 3 of us. In February, Dr. Bronson said, well, what are we going to do? Let's highlight HBCUs. And so that's what we did. But each day during the month of February, we highlighted a legend that graduated from HBCU. It was on our Facebook accounts, social media, but we also gave the PowerPoint presentations to the teachers to share with their students. So we enjoy that. We also recognize all of our employees who were graduates of HBCUs. So you'll see some of the pictures of some of our graduates. We also had HBCU T-shirt day, Divine Nine informationals, and members of the Divine Nine actually went into classrooms and they spoke about the history and the purpose of Divine Nine. And then we had Divine Nine Colors Day, which was awesome. So you see some of, if you look, you see even some of the little scholars got involved with it, so that was really cool. We enjoyed that. Another big highlight that was basically Miss Jones' platform, or her event, was the Real Men Read. But we wanted to highlight that on social media. Now, initially, I know Dr. Bronson came to Miss Jones with the idea, but however, yep, she ran with it. I mean ran with it. And so we worked together. And so at our elementary schools, we had over 100 men there. And I want to highlight Principal Ackley because she was so engaged. She had Rich Township. I mean, talking about being engaged with her community. She had the football team there. She had the mayor there. She had trustees there. She had the firemen there, businesses there, police officers there. It was just so great to see a real community effort. And so we were really pleased. We see Mr. Williams volunteer, and he was at his child's school, and we had members, employees. Mr. Short was there, and Mr. Butler was there, and some of our buildings and ground staff also participated. And that was really a big support. For the school district, it was very successful. Again, we collaborated with Ms. Jones to ensure that this was a successful program. March. Again, it's important that we highlight our staff. Part of what we do is to address culture and climate, and it's important that the staff realize their importance and that we highlight them. This year, for the very first time, we had our Harriet Tubman Courage and Service Award, and that, again, was the ideal of Dr. Bronson. We had it was an open application. People actually applied, and we met as a group, and of course, as you see here, Miss Tonette Reams was the winner for the first year. So we're really pleased with her being selected. And then we also had Herstory Day, where we had people in the industry, in math, and an attorney. We had the Miss Rodriguez, who's the owner and founder of Mael Cosmetics. She was there, and it was a panel discussion. It was a very good event for our kids at Colin Powell. They really enjoyed it. But what did we do for our staff? Because we have powerful women, too. We highlighted all of our staff members who were authors, who were entrepreneurs, who were in public service, and that was well received. So you see some of the people you all recognize that are doing good things outside of the school district. Also in March, by popular demand, we had our staff versus community basketball game. I know, Miss, you had a lot of fun there. It was a good event. Your family was there, and it was so well received. If you look at the picture, you see we had cheerleaders on both teams, but it's ironic, most of the cheerleaders were our employees, but they're cheering for the community. It was a great event. We were really pleased with that outcome. This month, World Health Day was actually April the 7th. So every month we're going to have a theme, right? World Health Day was actually April the 7th. And so on today, classes submitted a pledge And the theme was My Health, My Right. Tomorrow we will get together and we will select the winner, and the winning class will receive a complimentary snack bag. April the 24th is Administrative Assistance Day. We're not going to go too much into the details. As you see, it says surprise, so we're not going to talk about it. On the 22nd, we have Earth Day, and so we're engaging our Eagles, our Colin Powell Eagles, in an essay contest. And all of these things are going to hit the social media. So this is going to help tell our story, right? And they're doing an essay, and the title is, What is Earth Day and Why is it important? I'm really looking for the tree planting event on Arbor Day because I love planting. So we're going to plant trees at each of our schools. Today, we went out and we looked around and we selected the place, the spot with our Buildings and Grounds Department, and we're going to be planting an autumn maple tree. And if you know what that is, that's a big, beautiful tree. It gets red and pinkish and purplish during the fall, and it can get up to 50 feet. So we're going to be planting that, and the school is going to adopt a tree. And I did pass out information, so you guys please join us. Moving forward, we're going to continue to grow the capacity of the communication department, meaning that I'm going to continue to work with Ms. Jones in our planning going forward, and always with Ms. Mitchell. We have been going to training together. We meet on a weekly basis, as I said earlier, to plan for the future months and the upcoming school year. We're going to continue to utilize social media, and we're going to continue to try to increase our visibility. We're going to spoke with Mr. Butler in May. We're going to make a big effort, a campaign, and it's called Get LinkedIn. And that focus is going to be strictly our LinkedIn platform. So we'll be working together along with, again, I call it my team, but we'll be working together to get that off. And then we're going to continue to establish our monthly themes. We're going to continue to analyze. We're going to develop a presence in Tinley Park because we actually do have kids in Tinley Park and we can't overlook them. So we're going to develop a presence there. And we're going to continue to partner with the public media professionals. I provided information to you guys. We have been in South Suburban News 10 times since the beginning of the school year. So we will continue to have that and build that relationship. We are also going to be featured on Michael Taylor's radio show in the upcoming week. So we're really happy about that. And there was something else I wanted to, and I just wanted to notate that your communication department is an award-winning department. In 2000, we were nominated and received 4 awards from the Illinois National School Public Relations Association in September of last year. We received excellence for the video campaign category, which was the ribbon cutting ceremony for our playgrounds. We also received acknowledgement and awards in the newsletter campaign for our ESD 159 Community Connection newsletter. We received 2 awards in the writing campaign. One was for ESD 159 welcomes Superintendent Bronson, a new superintendent of schools, which appeared in several newspapers, and ESD 159 South Suburban Regional First STEM Center. So we'll continue to grow. Thank you. It's okay to clap. I swear it's okay. So we're continuously growing. We continuously growing our capacity. We have a collaborative mindset, knowing that no man is an island by itself. And so we have to be solution-oriented, and we have to do what we need to do to continue to tell our stories in a collaborative way. Any questions? Nobody?
Now I got one
Yes,
question.
sir.
A couple of questions actually. So for like the social media platforms, and I see this it's a lot of activity being posted out there. Are we kind of correlating that back to, like, say, for example, if we have an event and tracking, like, how many actual parents or people in the community are, like, attending that based on, like, the social media strategy? Because it's one thing, like, to see how much is reaching, like, via Facebook, but I think, like, with the insights, I'm looking for, like, how effective is it, like, our communication strategy to getting people to come out and starting to track that a little bit closer.
That's a good thought. We've not done that, but that is something that we can do, and we'll meet as a team and we'll figure out how to do that. Because that is something we want to know too. We want to know how effective it's being. Like you're saying, it's good to have the numbers, but how many people actually came because they saw that on Facebook? Now, I will say, Mr. Williams, we get a lot of comments from parents.
Right.
But that doesn't mean necessarily that that post is what brought them to the event. So that is something that we will implement.
And then something similar, like with the LinkedIn, I know it's relatively new, but has a formal communication went out to the staff to let them know about the updated page? Because I know there was some confusion. There used to be an old page that wasn't up to date, and then now there's a new one. So I was just curious if there's been a communication to the staff to let them know, like, hey, this is the new page. The old one is, no longer the official page.
I do know that one of the things we do plan to do when we launch the Get LinkedIn campaign is to communicate with the staff, and not only the staff, with our parents as well. So we did speak about sending out some form of communication.
Okay.
And that will go out, obviously, Mr. Williams, before the 1st of May.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mrs. Owens, it's your time.
Good evening, Board of Education, Superintendent, and our ESD 159 family. Someone has the timer? 3 minutes. All right. So I don't have a lot this evening, but I do want to make sure that I provide some updates for the Board of Education and our stakeholders. So tonight we'll go over the fund balance. We'll take a look at just some updates touching on those capital projects that we have out there, and I'll also go over the update as far as where we are with the food service RFP. Fund balance, February of 2024, beginning fund balance $43,083,678.46. Revenue, $26,907,978.31. Expenditures, $27,037,388.19. Should we have ended our school year February of 2024, we would have had an ending fund balance of $42,954,268.58. This compared to our fund balance, same period last school year of 2023, we had a beginning fund balance of $38,776,100.10. Our revenues were $23,369,231.88. Our expenditures were $28,078,539.74. If we were to close the year February of 2023, we would have an ending fund balance of $34,066,792.24. I do want to keep at the forefront that our current fund balance of $42 million does not include the rebate that is due to Amazon. We are still awaiting Amazon to finalize a final meeting with us because they want to clarify the process of how we move forward this year and every other year. And so we're looking to schedule a meeting next week. Hopefully we will be able to make that meeting will be able to happen with Amazon and the district representatives. And I'm saying that to say that there will be a sharp decrease of the fund balance once that happens. Very sharp, close to $3 million. Capital projects. The Seton Prairie addition and renovation is in progress. The bid amount, we're still at the original $3,999,750, and our expenditures are at $589,567.06. We do have a couple of pay applications that are in the payables, which is why the payables are much higher than what you are used to seeing. And once that is approved, then this amount will change. The Colin Powell front office renovation, we went out to bid. The opening was on April 4th at 11 a.m. The lowest, most responsible bid amount came in at $107,000 even. The anticipated start date for this project is June 10th, with an estimated substantial completion date of, September 9th of 2024. Taking a look at the bid tally sheet and the letter of recommendation that you have in your packet, there were 2 companies that came out to bid on this project, and the lowest, most responsible bidder has gone through the process of being vetted by TRIA Architecture to make sure that all of the documents that were aligned in the bid specification were met. The recommendation is for the board not to accept alternate 1 and alternate 2. Alternate 1 would have been a change of the substantial completion date. No cost, but we want to make sure that the substantial completion date remains the same. And then option 2, alternate 2, was to change the carpet in certain areas to a luxury vinyl tile. And those different areas need to be carpeted because they help to reduce when the traffic is coming into the building and into that main office, they have somewhere to dry their feet. Otherwise, we'll have to buy carpet to put on top of the vinyl. So to keep it just similar to the way all of the other elementary school buildings are, with those carpeted areas in the entry. And so the recommendation is to not accept alternate bid number 1 or number 2, and to award the bid to Ashler Construction Company at $107,000 even. Any questions regarding the bid tally sheet and recommendation?
Did we see a rendering?
I'm sorry, repeat that. Alternate 1 or 2. Yes, it's the same company, and so the alternate, they put an alternate bid in there, but we don't have to accept those different alternates that they provide.
Did they provide like a rendering of what that is going to look like, that space?
No, the construction companies that bid on the project usually don't provide renderings. The architects provide the actual layout. They provide the complete specifications. And with that, there are renderings, but those renderings aren't here with the bid process. We don't have a copy of that with this bid process. So, but do you have a copy that we can see? Of the rendering of what it's going to look like? We can definitely get the board a copy of those renderings.
Thank you.
And then, so with this call, okay, 2 things. This thing says substantial completion by August 9th, but I thought your thing said September 9th. You had 9/9, so in your report. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, August 9th. It should have been August 9th.
Because I was just like the other ones after Labor Day.
Yes.
So that's number 1. Number 2, so do we have a cost for the furniture, or all of this is?
This is the Colin Powell front office renovation.
No, but I'm saying, obviously, it's gonna be,
Just
does it include?
This, no, this
Okay.
does not include
The
furniture.
okay.
That's just
So
the
this-
renovation part.
Okay, and then we will be looking at, making the office, just in terms of having some of the same things that the other 4 buildings have, and similar, just in terms of wall work and things like that. Is that part
For
of
the front office?
Yes. Because the K-5s have a similar look, just in terms of the signage and things like that. So I just wanted to see that that would be a part of it.
Yes. We will provide that rendering so the board can see what the projection will look like.
What's the estimated budget for the front office with furniture, signage, like
For the completed.
after it's, what are we, what's the word choice I'm trying to look for? What are we anticipating the cost to be?
So typically, once the board approves the project itself, those projects that require furniture, there's usually a meeting that is had to come up with the budget for that, and the board approves that budget for that project.
Right.
So it's usually separate.
You haven't done
but
it yet?
No,
oh, okay,
we
'cause
have
I'm
not.
so used to you like.
Yeah, we have not had that meeting. We have it,
Okay.
we'll usually have the meeting after the actual award, the bid is awarded to that company.
But we have some idea of budgeting, so we wouldn't move forward with the process if we don't have the funds. So you're saying we have the funds to do all of it?
Yes, the furniture that, once the team is selected to create that actual furniture selection, we'll be able to have a better idea, but considering the cost of furnishing this building, we will definitely have the funds to furnish the front office at Colin Powell.
And just a question, so even with the renderings, because I know at the K-5 buildings, just in terms of, just a security issue, just in terms of how people get into the office and then almost, either swiping in, having to be buzzed to leave the office area. Is that all a part of with this renovation?
It is not a part of this renovation. It is actually bundled with the project that we have at Seton Prairie, as well as this building, the STEM and admin building, to change how the buzz-in works as it operates with the ADA push plate. What we don't want to happen is that putting the ADA push plate in position allows anyone to open and they have free access, even with our locking mechanism. And so that's bundled right now through the Seton Prairie project to have that taken care of, because the board has asked for it to be done immediately. And so the only way to do that is to bundle it as a change order with the Seton Prairie project to get it done as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we would be waiting until the summer where they get this started.
And I get that, but I'm just also talking about the inside, not the ADA door from the outside, but in terms of the internal doors. So just to make sure that that's a part of it too, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding the front office renovation at Colin Powell? Food service timeline. So the state responded and they gave us a list of changes that needed to be made. So those changes were made and implemented. We are still waiting on the state. One of the things they wanted us to change were the dates, and we still have yet to hear from the state regarding this. So you probably get another update in May as to what the final rollout is from the state. And the reason why I say that is because today is April 17th, and the goal was to have it sent out to advertisement April 17th, and we have not heard back from the state. And so as we go through this process, I will continue to update the board as to where we are. If there are no further questions, this concludes my presentation. You're welcome.
Good job, Mrs. Owens. All right, Madam Secretary.
we have any questions from the audience? Oh,
prefer we bring her in during closed session.
okay. Oh, yes. Anybody? No? All right, thank you. We do not have any questions.
All right, so board two made by the time, what we did was we only made our closed session 1 hour to come back out and start the meeting for those that we had waiting. But now at this time, the board will be going back into closed session to finish discussing our appointment compensation, negotiations, collective bargaining, and more. So at this time, I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Motion. A motion by Mrs. Phillips and second by Mrs. Edgecombe. The roll call, Edgecombe, Franklin, Johnson.
Yes.
Morton, Phillips.
Yes.
Is Mr. Scott? And Williams.
Yes.
Evening. We're back. It is now 9:59 p.m. We will be going over our consent agenda. At this time, it is 9:59 again p.m. A roll call for the motion agenda. I thought that's what I said. Motion to approve the agenda for April 17th, 2024. Roll call.
Second.
Yes.
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 Motion to approve the open and closed session minutes for the board meeting on March 20th, 2024. And motion to approve the accounts payable and payroll as follow. Payroll for March 8th, 2024, $1,013,074.14. And payroll for March 22nd, 2024, $1,009,933.80. Accounts payables through March 2024, $2,698,556.85. Motion to approve.
Motion. Motion by Phillips.
Second.
Second by
Morton.
Morton. Roll call Edgecombe.
Can I please ask one question, Dr. Brunson? Is the payroll a little bit higher?
Yes, Janisa, she was asking a question about payroll.
The accounts payables or payroll?
Payroll.
We paid out some teacher stipends and things like that.
Yeah.
Because it hits about this time. Yeah.
Okay.
The, yep.
Oh, girl, my eyeballs dry.
Yeah, Baz is too. That's,
She not gonna be able to see it.
I have to have it with light.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Go ahead.
Edgecombe.
Yes.
Franklin. Yes. Johnson.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
Phillips. Yes. Scott.
Yes.
And Williams.
Yes.
Motion to approve district office agreement per changes that will be made and sent to the board tomorrow. And motion for approval of the Board of Education 2024-2025 calendar, also with updates that will be sent to the board tomorrow. Motion?
Motion by Franklin. Second. Second by Phillips. Edgecombe.
Yes.
Franklin. Johnson.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
Phillips. Scott. Yes. And Williams.
Yes.
Motion to approve Haggerty renewal.
Motion by Ms. Phillips. Second. And second by Franklin. Edgecombe.
Yes.
Franklin. Yes. Johnson.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve certified staff employment, Latanya McCaskill retirement as principal at Cedar Prairie School. Motion to approve Michelle Hessian internal transfer K-8 math specialist, Colin Powell Middle School. Marcus Pryor hire cadre substitute at Colin Powell Middle School. Motion to approve the support staff employment termination, Metha Ross retirement IA at Colin Powell Middle School. Calvin Perkins hire bus monitor district-wide. Bernina Brunt resignation food service at Woodgate School. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Esco. Second. Second by Ms. Phillips. Roll call. Esco.
Yes.
Franklin. Yes. Johnson.
Yes.
Morton.
Yes.
Phillips. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Johnson.
You already said yes. I'm not after Phillips.
Scott. Yes. And Williams.
Yes.
Motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a notice to remedy to Miriam McCoy. Motion?
Motion. Motion by Ms. Phillips.
Second.
Second by Ms. Morton. Roll call. Esco.
Yes.
Franklin. Johnson.
Abstain.
Morton.
Yes.
Phillips. Yes. Scott. Yes. And Williams.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Esco. Second.
Can I motion? Can I motion? Swear to God.
Roll call. Esco.
Yes.
Franklin. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Morton. Phillips. Yes. Scott. Yes. And Williams.
Yes.
Thank you, Carl. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending online and in person at our Board of Education meeting. We will see you next month.